So what do you think about that? Now that you've done this biography of Limbaugh, you have license to express your opinion, and I guess you lean toward the conservative side of things. Is this a promising or an unpromising road to the future for the Republican Party?
Well, first of all, I have to say that I'm very nonpartisan. And on most of my views, social views for sure, I'm way to the left of the Republican Party. And actually, my economic views are pretty far to the left of the Republican Party. What I am is I'm very respectful of the two-party system and the fact that the Republicans make up one half of that system. So I'm not really qualified to speak as a Republican about this. But it does strike me that Limbaugh has accumulated the enormous popularity that he has and influence by using a microphone for the last 20 years. He hasn't done anything else. He just talked. And if David Frum or David Brooks or others who also have access to, the public media, broadcasting, newspapers and so forth, if they can make a better argument, I'm sure that they'll be listened to in the Republican Party. At the moment, though, I think that David Frum is correct, that Rush Limbaugh has pretty much read him and David Brooks and the other Ivy League New York Jewish Republicans out of the moderates, out of that equation.
Is that what this is? About Ivy League or Jewish or Northeast versus some other kind of Republican who Rush Limbaugh stands for?
Well, I wouldn't say I said Jewish because Brooks and Frum both happen to be Jewish, as am I. But and I respect their right to be Jewish. But Limbaugh doesn't have an anti-Semitic bone in his body. I assure you, I never would have written this book if I thought he had. But yes, to him, the Northeast, the elite institutions of the Ivy League schools, the quality press, the New York Times, Washington Post kind of press, NPR, these are elite liberal institutions that he sees as his ideological rival.
But I'm talking about within the Republican Party.
Well, within the
conservative movement. That's
a good question. I mean, in the conservative movement in the party, it seems to me that if you were taking a straw poll of people who were likely Republican voters and you put up David Frum against Rush Limbaugh, you would have about 98% of Republicans who support Rush Limbaugh.
Well, you'd certainly start with better name recognition. Alex in Queens, you're on WNYC. Hello.
Yes, hello, Brian. I just wanted to comment. I've been listening to Rush Limbaugh for decades now, and I'm a big supporter of his, obviously, and I think he is the leader of the Republican Party in a lot of ways. But I think one thing that I hope your guest will mention, he's funny. He is a very funny man on his show and in other areas, and being funny has helped to make him a more approachable character, and I think that's one of the parts of leadership that people want to attach themselves to his message because he is, a humorous character. He is a character.
I'm glad you brought that up, and in fact, that is very explicitly dealt with by you in your book, that you think liberals don't get the fact that Limbaugh is at once a polemicist of right-wing politics and a satirist, you say, in the style of H.L. Mencken.
Yeah, and I once said to him that it looks to me like one of his big influences was Muhammad Ali, who was somebody who knew how to take his basic personality, ramp it up by a factor of 20, and draw a huge crowd with it. And also, another point of comparison is that Ali and Limbaugh both loved to fight good opponents. Lee took on Sonny Liston and Foreman and Frazier, and Limbaugh takes on Bill Clinton and Obama and so forth. That's the league he likes to fight in. He is funny. There's one other thing that helps him to be the leader of the Republican Party, and that is that he's not running for anything. And they know he's not running for anything. So whatever else he is, he's not standing in anybody's way for a nomination.
But where's the line between polemicist and satirist? If somebody is actually running for office, actually being a politician, as you correctly mentioned that Limbaugh is not, then it's very hard to walk that line. I think Al Franken has really walked away from his comedy in trying to be taken seriously as a senator. Mm-hmm. And people do get confused. And in fact, I've heard I've seen references to things that Limbaugh has said. Tell me if you think this is accurate. Where he says he's really an entertainer first. He's in business to get an audience and get rich as an entertainer on the radio. The politics is all secondary to that. So, where does that all fit together, and how does it even become clear?
It's a great question. If you ask Rush on any given day, he gives you a different answer. Sometimes he'll say he's first and foremost a businessman, and sometimes he'll say he's first and foremost a broadcaster or an entertainer. And sometimes he says, and I think he's right, in this Rahm Emanuel and I agree, that he is also, at this point, the intellectual engine of the Republican and conservative side of the equation in America. I know that I spent a lot of time with him, comparatively, a lot of time with him off the air down in Palm Beach. And, I find that his personality is completely different off the air. He's much, cooler and much, more down to earth. But his basic political opinions are not different. Those opinions are not, for public consumption only. So in that regard, I guess he's all of those things. He's a terrific broadcaster. He's an entertainer. He's a very rich businessman.
You don't think he ever says anything that he doesn't believe because it'll be entertaining or provocative?
Oh, I do. I mean, I think he says things that are more hyped than he would say otherwise. I don't think I once asked him, what have you changed your mind about in 20 years? He and I had a very vivid email exchange of about 100 emails. I asked him, what have you changed your mind about? And he waited for a day, and then he wrote back, and he said, nothing. And I thought to myself, what must it be like to be a person who changes his mind about nothing in 20 years?